Hello everyone and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel. My name's FPL Phillips and today is another episode of Eddie versus the Algorithm, the series here on FPL YouTube where I'm taking on a computer-generated team for each game week of the season. So by the end of the 38 game weeks, I can then decide whether or not I am better than a machine at playing fantasy football. So far, so well. However, it is now 2 wins in a row for the Algorithm, 2 victories on the trot. I need to up my game. I've put together a team that I'm hoping can do that for the last game week before that all-important game week 29, where it seems like everyone's talking about chip strategies. We're just putting together 2 free hit teams for game week 28. Let's see which team you guys think is going to score the most points, and more importantly, which team actually does. I realise with that intro I made it sound like you guys and your opinions don't matter. They definitely do. Put them down below in the comments, not just because I'm interested to see them, but they help out the YouTube algorithm as well. That's definitely not going to hurt. Look at me over here preaching like that's going to make all the world of difference. But yeah, comment if you want, like if you want, whatever. Let's get into things and have a look at the 2 teams. It's a 3-5-2 for the Algo this week, 88 predicted points, so a very, very healthy total indeed. Of course, we do have a double game week this week, let's not forget, with 2 teams doubling. It's kind of like one of those weeks where the algorithm and myself will probably have 6 players in from those teams, but in reality, is anyone going to be able to get to that level of players? No. And would you want to, with the teams being Luton and Bournemouth? Probably not. In goal, though, it is going to be our first pick from one of those sides, and it's actually taking the vice-captain's armband, Neto, and probably my favourite pick from the Bournemouth backline. Nailed for minutes. Didn't actually have bad fixtures before this as well. I've been rotating him with Areola, which granted didn't go well last week, but I brought Neto in on my wildcard for this reason, for this double game week coming up, and I think he definitely is the best keeper of the 2 options. 2 games at home, Sheffield United and Luton. Probably going to be a clean sheet in the Sheffield United game. Hopefully, touch wood, all that stuff. Probably not against Luton would be my prediction. So we're looking at around 8 points, maybe 10 with 7 save points. If he does somehow come away with 2 clean sheets, though, it could be a very nice total for Neto this week. And if you are in need of a change of goalkeeper, then he's definitely a safer pick than going for some of the Bournemouth defenders. Now that Senezai is out, of course, there's not really a standout option in that Bournemouth back line. We'll see who the algorithm does choose to go with, though, and it's Kirkes of Bournemouth. Now, when I've looked at the underlying data, there doesn't seem to be too much in it between him and the other Bournemouth defenders. And Kirkes' minutes they're not the most assured. So when you could go for centre-back in the middle, who we're going to talk about in my section, and have that long-term option as well, then I think there probably is a better pick to go for in the man we're going to talk about in a minute. But Kirkes, does provide a more attacking, albeit only slightly when we look at the numbers, alternative. One thing I will say is that left-backs, and attacking left-backs in particular, seem to do very, very well against Sheffield United. And so sometimes fullbacks can actually be some of the highest scorers. We tend to just jump on the midfielders, jump on the forwards for when we're targeting Sheffield United. But I actually think he could do well. There are people on Twitter saying it as well. I do agree. And in this kind of series where you can take some fun punts, I'm actually, quite happy to see him in there and kind of wishing I went with him myself. But I put together my team before I'm seeing this. We then got Doughty, who's kind of an obvious pick for this game with the attacking threat. He's got 2 away fixtures, which definitely aren't the easiest, but pretty much guaranteed 4 points, and then could get something on top of that. And with clean sheets being hard to come by, let's just target the attacking returns anyway. And then Diogo Dalot, who has been in fantastic form for Manchester United, one of their players of the season, definitely improved defensively. He's looked great going forward as well, and Everton at home is not a bad fixture for Manchester United, so I don't mind that pick in the slightest as single game weeks go for this week. In midfield, we are going to see another double game weeker in the form of Ross Barkley coming in. It's a bit disappointing that he's probably the pick of the bunch from the midfielders, probably across both teams as well, not just Luton. You have got other people like Cliver, who you could go for Tavernier at Bournemouth too, but really, I just think Barkley is maybe the standout pick from any midfielder you could go for from the doubling teams. Mentioned the away fixtures aren't the easiest, but he looks like a decent option. I probably wouldn't be transferring him. I think there just are better moves to make. But as a cheap enabler for this team, I kind of do like him. We then got Salah and Saka, and now I'm seeing a few things about Saka. I think it was just a precautionary, him taking him off, a few comments about illness and stuff like that. But I think the Saka's going to start this game against Brentford. And Salah, again, not one who's 100% confirmed to start, just back in training for Liverpool. But you have to assume they're doing everything they can to try and get him back in and able to start this one. being it one of the biggest games of the season against Manchester City at Anfield. And we know Salah is a bit of a big game player, so if Liverpool are going to, get one over on Man City and put one foot, or one hand maybe, on the Premier League trophy, then it's going to be up to someone like Mo Salah to make a difference in that one. We then got Pascal Gross, who was kind of unsurprisingly benched last game. We keep an eye on the Brighton team news from yesterday, where it will be as you're recording this, because that could give us a bit of an indication as to whether maybe Pascal Gross was just rotated or not. But I think he is a good pick. Nottingham Forest, again, not a bad fixture at all, and has been in some good form. Was quite surprised to see him on the bench last game week. And then finally, we've got Jared Bowen, and now with Lucas Paqueta back, I think West Ham are one of the teams you can definitely jump in on. They've got Bowen, Kudus, and Paqueta to pick from again, as they did have a bit earlier in the campaign, and we saw how great those guys could be when they're linking up. And in particular, Bowen looks like a fantastic option since he's playing through the middle and out of position. We've then finally got the two forwards, who are going to be Dominic Solanke taking the captain's armband, as every man and his dog will be doing this week with their captaincy, and then Morris as well, who probably is the standout pick from Luton. He's got the penalties, scored from a great doubty free kick last game week, so maybe we can see a repeat of that. The algorithm, and myself, which we'll see in a moment, will certainly be hoping so. And then finally, on the bench, we're going to see Watkins, Gabriel, and finally Victor Lindelof with Onana. So the three Manchester United assets defensively, albeit between the starting 11 and the bench in total. So yeah, Watkins still makes it in, which is surprising. You can go and check out all the predicted points totals for yourself over on fantasyfootballfix.com if you would like to. But let's have a look as to how my team differs from that of the computer. And this is my squad. I've stuck with the 3-5-2 formation. We've got the same one this week. And there are some similar players in there. Instead of the Kirkes from Bournemouth, though, I have gone for Zabani. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm just going to butcher the name. Zabani? Sorry. Put comments down below if you've got advice on how to say all these names that I end up butchering in these videos. But yeah, I just like him as a more minute-secure player. Albeit his kind of only route to points is through those clean sheets. He's not really going to get anywhere near the bonus. His attacking data is naff as well. But I'm just hoping that, slim chance that maybe he could come away with 2 clean sheets this game week. You never know. Sometimes when you least expect your players to get attacking returns, they end up being the ones that score in those game weeks. So it's probably not going to happen now. I've completely, fully jinxed it by saying that and mentioning it in the online video. But yeah, you can never say never in football, basically. I've gone with Gabriel as well, just because I think that Manchester United defence is not one in comparison to Arsenal that is any good at keeping clean sheets. So Gabriel, despite it not being the easiest fixture against Brentford, is the one targeted there. He can always grab something from a set piece too. Midfield looking pretty similar. Only change is I've taken up Pascal Gross and I've gone for Kudus. So I've kind of loaded in on that West Ham midfield, as I was alluding to doing earlier on. And then up front, I just moved the vice-captain's armband to Morris. I just think he's got more of an upside than going for Neto as your vice-captain. But I'm assuming that Dom Solanke will be ready to go and starting both these games as he did against Burnley. And maybe he'll actually do something in those games compared to against Burnley, where he kind of let down all the owners who decided to start him. I had points sat in my first sub position as well. So god damn it, Dom, do something this game week, will you, and repay the faith. On the bench, I've got Areola. I've then gone with 2 Crystal Palace assets, so Mateta and Richards, and then I've got Dalot down there as well. But finally, let's have a quick look at the captaincy for this game week, because there is something to be said for maybe going away Dom Solanke. Let's have a look if there are any other options instead. And so, obviously, we've got the big man Dom in here. We've got Bukayo Saka and Carlton Morris. And straight away, when you look at the predicted points totals, you can kind of see why Dom Solanke is going to be the most popular pick this game week. 12.1, almost double what Saka is predicted for game week 28, and Morris can only get 7.1, so only 0.3 more than Saka despite having a double. It's just those 2 home games, and if you look at the opponent expected goals conceded, 2.15 and 2.25 for Sheffield United and Luton respectively. They're 2 of the worst defences in the league, and so targeting them, of course, makes a whole world of sense. As far as assets go, Dom Solanke is actually looking pretty similar to Morris, so the exact same, in fact, expected FPL points per 90. Some way behind Saka, of course. He's got that extra point for a goal. He's got other avenues to points in the form of a clean sheet as well. But Dom Solanke does have the higher upside this game week. There is no arguing that, really. Expected goals, the Bournemouth team aren't doing too bad in that regard. They are a better attack than Luton, and they're going to have 2 home games against 2 weaker teams. It just makes so much more sense to go for Solanke than it does to go for Morris. He's got penalties as well, so it's not like even Morris has got that going for him, or Saka's even got that going for him over Solanke. And that's why, despite his live ownership only being 41%, the effective ownership of Dom Solanke is going to be very, very high this week indeed. But I'm sure you guys know that. And with that, we can wrap up the video. I hope you guys are having fun with planning your trip strategies and all that. Remember to have fun. It is just a game at the end of the day. And with that, I'll wish you the best of luck for game week 28. And may your arrows all be green for this one. I'll see you in the next video. And goodbye.